don't know how to pronounce the first one, so I'm just going to call it A.
Perfect.
A and other modern antibiotics kill a much wider variety of bacteria than penicillin does. They also carry higher profit margins, so drug companies now have an incentive to stop manufacturing the older, less profitable antibiotics.
Okay, go ahead and stop there and tell us what's happening.
Okay, so we have two types of antibiotics, A and penicillin, that kill different bacteria. But A is better than penicillin in the fact that you can gain more money for it and profit margins. So drug companies are more likely to stop manufacturing penicillin.
Excellent.
This could cause a penicillin shortage, forcing doctors to use the much more powerful new antibiotics in cases where they might be otherwise be unnecessary. Thus, these newer antibiotics are likely to result in an outbreak of diseases caused by drug-resistant bacteria since blank. So this is saying that since companies are going to be more likely to produce A over penicillin, there's going to be a penicillin shortage, and more doctors are going to be forced to use the A, which is a more powerful antibiotic, but it might not be necessary. And the newer antibiotics are likely to result in a lot of outbreak of diseases due to drug-resistant bacteria.
Excellent. So whenever it says thus, what is this an indicator word for, Zach?
Conclusion.
Excellent. And what is since an indicator for?
Premise.
Yes. So what is our answer choice going to be?
Premise.
Premise. And what is our premise going to, when we add it, are we going to be concluding?
These newer antibiotics are likely to result in an outbreak of
Yes. So our goal is to pick the answer choice that is going to get us here. So these newer antibiotics are likely to result in an outbreak of diseases caused by drug-resistant bacteria since. What would cause this? Did anybody make a prediction here? What would fill in the blank?
I thought my prediction was just like the newer strains are just like really strong. Like they're just so like that was the difference between A and E for me. Like E was saying that like their resistance, like and like that's saying that if anything, like the ones that are not resistant, like most bacteria that are resistant to penicillin are not resistant to A and other modern. So
Why potentially could newer antibiotics be likely to result in an outbreak of diseases though?
because a human genome hasn't caught up to it.
Is that, I think that's outside information. Like, yes.
Yeah, just me being like,
you're like in life, that's why. But why might this happen? Why are they likely to result? What do we need to be true? Nicole, were you able to predict something?
I thought it had something to do with the effect of penicillin going away, and whatever the bacterias were that penicillin were taken care of, they would come back, and the new drug A couldn't kill them.
Right. So we have this I think you're saying it correctly, but we have this penicillin shortage. So we're going to start using these powerful drugs. Why are we going to have an outbreak in more diseases when we're using the powerful drugs rather than when we're using the penicillin? What has to be true?
because one's not being used.
No.
Is it that normally some diseases that would have been taken care of if we just used penicillin are now going to morph and become stronger because now they've learned to fight back against the stronger antibiotics that didn't necessarily need to be used?
Yeah, have you ever, like, this is where we can, I think, use a little bit of outside information of like, why don't doctors overprescribe antibiotics? Because they don't want our bodies to become immune to them, right? And so if we start just giving this the most powerful antibiotic to everybody, then we're going to create even stronger diseases or something of that sort. So what answer choice gives us the best reason for that these newer antibiotics causing a stronger outbreak? Go ahead and put your answer in the chat. I know some of you already answered it, but can you just go ahead and send it again, please? we have A, B, D, and E as our answers. All right. Let's start with D. Treatment of diseases with the powerful new antibiotics is much more expensive than treatment with the older ones. Do we care about being more expensive? No, we don't have penicillin. Like, this is what we're given. All right. B, older antibiotics like penicillin have been widely used for many decades. Does older antibiotics like penicillin, even though those have been used for decades, does that guarantee that these newer antibiotics are going to cause an outbreak? No, because we don't, like, it's cool, they've been used for decades, but what if these newer antibiotics have only been used for 2 days, but they still don't cause an outbreak of diseases? All right. A, drug-resistant bacteria. So let's go ahead and decide between A and E. I want everybody to go ahead and put a new answer in the chat, either affirm your answer or change your answer to A or E. All right, so our answer is going to be A, and E is so tricky because it says most, so more than 50% of bacteria that are resistant to penicillin are not resistant to ampicillin and other modern antibiotics.
Anything that says that they can be eliminated, right?
Yes. If anything, I think a lot of us, like, I think this would be a much better answer choice if these were switched, like if they weren't resistant to penicillin.
I had to give it another.
Yes, that one's tricky. But really, just because they are resistant to penicillin, but them not being resistant to ampicillin, so they're not resistant to the stronger one, right? So these newer antibiotics are likely to result in an outbreak of diseases. How does them not being resistant help us cause this outbreak of disease? It doesn't really do anything for us. Do you see this, Angelica? I think you put E.
Yeah, but if they're not resistant, doesn't that mean that they're like not they're not impacted by it? Like
Well, they can be cured by it. Is pretty much resistance to like.
So not resistant is that they can't be cured. Okay, I was thinking.
You must have just what does not resistant mean? Yeah.
Yeah, I think I must the not resistant. I read over the not.
Yeah, because even if you read it as most bacteria that are not resistant to ampicillin, kind of like just to help you break that down a little bit, it's like, no, we don't want the bacteria to not be resistant.
Yeah, okay.
And well, in this case, I guess in life we don't want it to be, but. And then what A is saying is that drug-resistant bacteria flourish in the absence of competition from a wide variety of other bacteria. How does this work, Katie?
So it's basically saying that we had these like mean little drug resistant bacteria. And now that the stronger antibiotics knocked out all the other bacteria that maybe didn't need to be knocked out by things that strong, it's the only thing that's left.
And they're now going to flourish. Yes. Excellent.
What does the second half of that sentence mean? The competition.
The absence of competition from a wide variety of other bacteria. So it's saying that this drug resistant bacteria. So whenever we have resistant bacteria to drugs, so whatever it is, flourishes whenever there's not a lot of other bacteria, and there's not going to be a lot of other bacteria because these stronger modern antibiotics kill a much wider range. So since they're like just wiping everything out, the few people that survive are just going to become so strong and so powerful.
Okay.